Welcome back to the channel, guys. We are in the shop today again with my 98 Subaru Legacy Outback, which we just got done putting an engine in, but still needs a whole lot of work to be done. And I'm going to show you guys really quick what I've already gotten started. I have been sick for the last week, horrible flu that I had, and so I was doing little bits here and there, and I just wasn't in the mood to film, so I didn't really capture any of it where I started. But I'll show you guys where I'm at right now. I have finished the passenger side. Let me just show you guys. Let's go take a look. Here is the box of parts that I've got, and I'm still waiting on a lot more parts. We're basically doing a full suspension and brake rebuild on this car. I did get the caliper out and taken apart. The bores or the cylinders look good, and the pistons themselves look good. The seals, of course, are pretty worn, so we got a new seal kit. Put those back together. We're gonna paint these just so they look nice. And then in here I've got new brake hoses going all around on all four corners. We got new tie rods, inner and outer, new boot. I got a new lower ball joint down here as well that is very easy to change out, actually. And I am in the process of swapping out the struts. So I already got the old strut out. And take a look at this. These are old mounts. We replaced the mounts as well. But this is the old strut. Literally, it won't even come back up. So this car was super bouncy. When you'd accelerate, it would just do this whole number here. But regardless, this thing is going to be like new when we're done. I also did get a brand new mass airflow sensor because it would not stay running. We got a new pulley here and a new tensioner system for the AC compressor. What else? I think that's about it as far as mechanical goes. We still got to rebuild the power steering pump. I want to replace the seals internally on that. And yeah, we're just going to continue with the suspension. I got to get the struts out and put the strut together and drop it in. Quick question for you guys, if anybody knows. Is there something or a kit out there that they sell to fix this wobbly issue? Like, I really don't want my shifter to be like this. And we're taking the seats out because if you can see, the carpets are disgusting and there's tons of dog hair everywhere. So I'm in the process of detailing the interior as well. I mean, I'm just going literally all out with this thing. So getting ready to assemble the strut. And it looks like somebody previously in the past already marked the spring, because I am using the old spring. It's still good, obviously. This is the direction that the spring's supposed to be facing, towards the outside of the car, and this part as well on the strut. So when it goes back together, we just got to make sure that these two dots are facing our mounting point up here front in the front. And here we have one strut fully assembled, ready to go back in. Okay, slide it in. Let's go this way. Cool. And now we can just line it up and put our other bolts in place. And knocked my light down. I cannot wait to drive this thing, guys. It's gonna feel so much different. I mean, it felt every bit of 200,000 miles and 28 plus years, or however old this thing is. It's pretty dang old, I know that. It's a 98, so you can do the math. It's over 20 years old. And the previous owners, I'm not gonna lie, they did a pretty good job of maintaining it because it's not completely rusted out. They did spray a bunch of like fluid film everywhere to prevent rust, and I feel like that kind of preserved the car a little bit. The only issues that the car really did have was the engine problems and needing all brakes and new suspension, which in all reality is pretty much an entire car. Now in third gear, it does kind of crunch a little bit if you're trying to like bang gears, which I don't really try to do in this car. It's not for that. It's just a daily driver parts getter. But it doesn't like that in third gear. So I think in the summertime, once I find another vehicle to be like my all-time vehicle, which is going to be like an SUV or a pickup, we're going to pull the manual trans out of this, and I want to do a 6-speed manual swap from an STI, and maybe turbocharge this thing, maybe just drop in a whole STI motor. I don't know yet. Give me ideas, guys. What would you guys like to see done to the Outback? So we're going to start on the rear brakes, and we're going to start by taking the brake line off first. Try and pry it out of there. Oh, man. It's kind of moving. There we go. Okay. Now this is probably the scariest part. I was hoping that this thing's not rusted on there. So we get our line wrench. Oh, wow. I did have this thing soaking in WD-40 for about a day and a half, so that probably made the difference there. All right, well, nothing dramatic to show here, so I'll just keep spinning it off. All right. Get that little cap on there, keep it from leaking all the brake fluid. Now we can disconnect the line off the caliper. It's a 12mm nut. All right. And now our old brake line is free. Oh, it's going to come out this way. There we go. Old brake line or brake hose is out. It's just a 12mm bolt holding it in place. All right. Putting the rest of that fluid in our bucket. And there's one. And two. Your rotor seized on there. A couple of bolts through these threaded holes on the rotor will get it off. And there we go. 19mm wrench, breaker bar with a 3/4 inch impact socket. Now let's see. Yep. That was really tight. But no rust sound, so that's good. Okay. Let's try and get this lower one off. It's kind of a tight area. Oh yeah. All right, now you can grab your impact, and hopefully it's strong enough to get it out. We'll see how my little 3/8 Hyper Tough does. Well, struggled just a little bit, not too much. Not giving my wrench I needed. Oh no. There we go. All right, now the top one. It's underneath this little plastic trim panel here. This stuff is really delicate. We don't want to break it. Don't want any mice jumping out at me. It's pretty nasty under here. But there's our mount. And we can take these 12mm nuts off and it'll be out. I don't want this thing to fall and just crash onto my foot, so let's see if I can do this with one hand. Oh, it seems like it's already, it's holding itself up somewhere. Okay. All right. Whoa. Wow. Yeah, that's gross. Great. Mouthful of dirt. I was just inspecting all of these bushings. There's another one up here, one down there, and then there's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They all look pretty worn out. This looks like it's been changed at some point. That one's pretty old and cracking. So I think at some point in the near future, I'm just going to buy all of the bushings. I think it's 6 per side, so it'd be 12 total for the rear. And then in the front, I think they were replaced recently, but these ones are pretty worn out. There's quite a bit of movement. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, you can see it moving there. So looks like we're gonna need bushings at some point. All right, well, my kids are actually visiting, so I'm gonna call it for the day, but I'm still waiting on all the brakes to come in, and I just got a notification for delivery, but they got to my job, so I don't have them here at the shop. So we will pick this up in a couple of days. On my way home, I saw this interesting little pickup truck. Look at the exhaust, kind of a ghetto wide body. The dude was super happy. There was no sound. For some reason, my microphone wasn't working at the time, and he started revving it. It sounded horrible. And it had these badges on the side, and it says Shitbox Edition. We are back in the shop, and I finally got the new strut installed. And I also got a new spring compressor, and I will show you guys that here in a minute. So let's continue on with the work. All right, before we move on to the rest of the brake or the rest of the suspension, I had been waiting on the new brakes parts to come in, and I got everything I need. So now we can go ahead and get the brakes for the passenger side fully assembled and put back on the car. And then we will move on to the driver's side and do the brakes and struts on that side as well. Right now I'm just separating the parts that I need for this caliper. And I've already installed one of the pistons with the new seal. Still got to install the other one. So I got a new seal kit for the caliper and new hardware for the caliper bracket, as well as the new hardware for the brake pads. So let's get this stuff installed. Okay. Sure it's clean in there. Some brake fluid on our piston. And then we just slide it in. It's not the easiest thing to do. I had to hammer the other one in, so I might have to throw this in the vise and do the same thing. Let's pull this out. Yeah, I'm gonna throw this in the vise real quick. All right, well, the caliper's done. It's got the new seals installed. One thing I didn't show you guys is that this is one of the old seals. So I ripped 2 seals installing these. So I literally wasted a whole kit on one caliper. So now I have 1 new seal left with 2 new O-rings for the other side. So this wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. But this one doesn't have any rips or tears in it. Neither does this one. So I just put air in it and it held pressure. So it should be fine. Next thing we're going to take care of is the caliper bracket. This slide is pretty stuck. So I'm going to clean these out really good. I'm replacing these as well. These are the new ones. Okay. Oh man, this one is really seized. I had to pull this one out with the pliers. That's how seized it was. And this kit comes with this new little O-ring, if you want to call it that. It goes on the edge of the slide pin. Got the old one off. And looks like it has a taper. Clean that off. Put a little bit of grease on there. Put the new one on. Oh man, that feels so much better. See, it actually moves. Cool. this problem. There we go. All right, so first one went in good. All right. Freshly rebuilt caliper. Mounting bolts. Nice. We got new rotors, new pads, new hardware. Calipers been refreshed. We got new hoses, new tie rods, and a new strut. Also a lower ball joint. The front driver or passenger side is good to go. All right, with the fronts done, now it's time to move on to the rears. And right now I'm just trying to pop the caliper piston out. There we go. It's pretty nasty. Give this thing a nice polish and clean it up before we put it back in. But seems okay. Got a little bit of corrosion on there. And then we got to remove this boot. There it is. It's the old ring. And what's left of the old seal. Take out this old seal. It's this little O-ring. And now we can put it all back together. Nice. That went in nice and smooth. This side is now finished. Brake hose, new rotor, new pads, rebuilt caliper, and a new strut. Driver's side rear is now done. New rotor, new brakes, and new strut. And I did notice something kind of weird. That bar right there is bent. If you can see it on camera, it's this one right here is slightly bent. You can actually see the bushing there. It's not straight. So I'm gonna jump online and see if I can order that. Might as well order all of them. But now we are gonna jump to the front. And this one is really gross. Okay, it's got this nasty stuff just caked all over it. So I'm gonna start dismantling this and taking it all apart. All right, got my vice grips on there. Let's see if we can break this loose. All right. Ah, there we go. Okay. Old hose is out. All right, now our caliper's free. Well, it looks like I had to take the ABS sensor out so I could try and get this off, but I don't think this thing comes out. I wanted to get it off to clean it, but we'll just clean it on the car, I guess. I got better access to it anyways. And wanted to clean this as well. This thing is pretty nasty. See if my impact can get that off without bending that tab. Wow, it got it off, but that was interesting. It's a really long sensor. all of the crap that came off. I mean, this thing is just gross. Now I gotta get the tie rod off. To remove the tie rod, I'm gonna be using these. Bought these at Harbor Freight, I think for $20. And the reason I like these is my brother has a set that are snap-on, and I've always used them for this. And the snap-on ones are $160. These ones are $20, and look at that. Look at how easily it takes off the inner tie rods. And I've tried this on plenty of vehicles and never had an issue. So spare yourself buying one of those tie rod tools. Just get one of these Icon wrenches. Steering knuckle out of the way. So that way we can replace the lower ball joint. All right, should be plenty of space there. Access to our lower ball joint. And we can also pop off our tie rod. All right, everything is finally back on. All the front suspension, tie rods, ball joint, brakes, everything. All right, let's take this thing for a quick little test drive. All right, well, first impressions on how this thing drives, and it drives really good. The brakes feel solid, and the suspension, I mean, what a difference some struts and tie rods and ball joints makes. And now we just have a few things left to do to make it more of a comfortable and modern vehicle, and we will be doing that coming up here shortly. But this thing drives great. I love it. Loving it. Well, that is going to do it for today's video. I'm very happy how this thing turned out. It drives great. It's been a long time coming. I've had this thing for a while and it's just been sitting there, and just to finally drive it around and enjoy it actually be what I always thought it would be. It's pretty good. Normal car, not nothing special, but definitely a good daily driver and a good parts getter. So you guys will definitely be seeing it on the channel. Got a few more upgrades coming up for the car still. We got to get to the auction this week, and hopefully we pick up a new project for you guys so we can flip some more cars. If you guys like the video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.